So today we're going to talk about a massive shift in how businesses handle their data. We're going to break down how a modern data strategy is really becoming the engine for, well, everything, from sharp business insights all the way to groundbreaking generative AI. Let's dive right in.
First off, let me ask you something. Does your current data setup feel slow, kind of complex, or maybe just siloed? If you're juggling different systems for different jobs, one for your analytics, another for machine learning, you know exactly the pain I'm talking about. It's a super common challenge, and honestly, it just slows everyone down.
Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the old dilemma that got us into this mess. Then we'll introduce the solution, the lakehouse. We'll walk through how you can actually get there, see what awesome stuff you can do once you arrive, and finally, cover how to run it all like a pro for maximum success. Right, let's kick things off with what I call the classic data dilemma. For years, decades really, the data world was basically split right down the middle. Organizations had to make this tough choice between two very different types of systems, and each one came with its own major pros and cons.
So, on one side, you've got the data lake. Think of it like this huge, flexible reservoir. You can pour in absolutely massive amounts of any kind of data, raw, messy, you name it, which is amazing for AI. But there's a catch. Without some serious management, it can quickly turn into a murky, unusable data swamp. Then, on the other side, you've got the data warehouse. This thing is like a super organized, structured library. It's incredibly fast and reliable for your classic business reports, but it's rigid. It just was not built to handle all that messy, unpredictable data that powers modern AI.
So what ended up happening? Well, most organizations realized they needed both, and this forced them to maintain two separate, really expensive systems. Data was constantly being copied and moved back and forth, creating this messy web of governance problems and, data that just didn't match up. In the end, all that complexity just slowed innovation to a crawl.
But what if you didn't have to choose? What if you could just get rid of that conflict? This is where a whole new way of thinking about architecture comes into play. One that was designed to completely eliminate that old dilemma.
And here it is. Meet the lakehouse, which was pioneered by Databricks. The idea here is actually really simple, but it's incredibly powerful. This is not a compromise. It's a single unified platform that gives you the best of both worlds. You get that massive scale and flexibility of a data lake, but you also get the performance, reliability, and governance of a data warehouse.
The lakehouse really stands on three key pillars. First, it's unified. This means all your teams, data engineering, analytics, everyone, they're all working on the exact same data in the exact same place. Second, it's open. It's built on these incredible open source standards, so you're never locked into some proprietary system. And third, it's secure. You get a single, central way to govern all your data and AI assets, which makes security and compliance so much simpler.
Okay, this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But I know what you're thinking. How do we actually get from our complicated old systems to this shiny new lakehouse world? That is the most important practical question, for sure.
Well, the good news is there's a pretty clear path. It all starts with planning and prioritizing your most critical data. Next up is the lift and shift, which is just moving that data efficiently. A really common way to do this is to export your tables into an open format, put them in cloud storage, and then you can access them from both the old and new systems. From there, you validate using automated tools to make sure everything lines up perfectly. And finally, once you get the green light from your stakeholders, you can deprecate the old systems and, free up all those resources.
So you've done it. You've made the move. All your data is now together in the lakehouse. And this, my friends, is where things get really, really fun, because you've just unlocked a whole new universe of possibilities.
This right here is the true power of having everything unified. With just a single copy of your data, you can run every kind of workload you can imagine, all at the same time. Your data engineers can build pipelines, your analysts can run crazy fast BI queries, and your data scientists can train the latest and greatest machine learning and generative AI models. It all just happens on the same platform, using the same live data. The walls between teams just disappear.
But that brings up a really critical question, doesn't it? With so much activity happening on one platform, how in the world do you make sure everything runs at top speed without completely blowing your budget?
The answer is this incredible engine under the hood called Photon. Think of Photon as Databricks' own native super high-performance query engine. It was built from the ground up to be insanely fast, speeding up all your SQL jobs and data processing. And here's the best part. Faster queries mean less compute time, and less compute time means lower cloud bills. It's a direct line from performance right to cost savings.
All right, let's chat about the last piece of this puzzle, making sure your lakehouse runs efficiently, affordably, and securely, not just today, but for the long haul.
It really all starts with this simple but super powerful idea. If you want to control your costs and make things run better, you first have to be able to see what's actually going on inside the platform. And when you look at where the money goes, one thing becomes incredibly clear. Compute, the raw processing power for your jobs, is by far the biggest piece of the pie. We're talking typically 70% of your total spend. So that means this is the #1 area to focus on for optimization.
Luckily, Databricks gives you some really powerful tools to get a handle on this. Auto-scaling dynamically changes your resources so you're only paying for exactly what you use. Auto-termination is a lifesaver. It automatically shuts down idle clusters so you're not paying for forgotten ones. Using lower-cost job clusters for your automated stuff and tapping into spot instances, which is basically spare cloud capacity at a huge discount, can drive those costs way, way down.
And of course, optimization isn't just about cost, it's also about security and control, right? Unity Catalog gives you that one central hub for governance. You can use cluster policies to automatically enforce rules like setting a maximum size for a cluster. And all the standard enterprise stuff you'd expect, like single sign-on and data encryption, ensures your platform is totally secure and compliant.
So, after this whole journey, from those tangled, siloed systems to a unified, optimized, and intelligent lakehouse, we're left with one final, and I think really exciting question. With all your data in one place and all those old barriers to innovation just gone, what new ideas, what new applications, what new breakthroughs are you going to build next?